Hello students, let's read this question. Matthew cleans 4 rooms per hour. Which graph describes the relationship between the number of rooms y Matthew cleans in x hours? Okay, so let's start by identifying important information. Matthew cleans 4 rooms per hour. This is important because this is a number. Although it comes in words, but it is a number. 4 rooms, and this is something else, per hour. And the word per hour means in how many hours? In 1 hour. Great. Now the question is, which graph describes the relationship between the number of rooms y in x hours? Okay, so with the circle and underline, let's box the question. Find the graph for the relationship between the number of rooms y that Matthew cleans in x hours. Okay, so I highlight basically the variables that are going to represent quantities. Okay, and we have the number of rooms, so I'm going to say the number of rooms will be on the y-axis. And the number of hours looks like it's going to be on the x-axis. Very good. Now, I have to come out with an elaborate plan. For elaborate, we can draw, we can have a table, depending on which type of questions we have. On this type of questions, when a scenario is given and then I have graphs representing that scenario, a good strategy is to generate our equation. Okay, so let's get started by doing that. So here I'm going to say the total number of rooms that Matthew cleans is going to be the letter y. This is the y. And now we know that all the rooms that he's going to clean is going to be 4 rooms. You see, this is a constant here. I'm going to put 4 times. And I'm saying times because if it's 1 hour, how many rooms can he clean? 4, because that will be 4 times 1. But what about if he has 2 hours to clean? We repeat the 4 now 2 times. And if we have 3 hours, that will be 4 times 3. Great. So you see this, guys? This number here is changing. And that's what we call a variable. Awesome. So here what I'm going to say is y, the total number of rooms, is going to be equal to 4, because that's a constant, times x. And x is our variable. I'm going to put this on blue. And y is going to be the total number of rooms that we're going to have on the y side. You see? Great. Okay. And because I have an equation and a graph, always a table is super useful to see that relationship. So I'm going to draw a table for us, guys. And when we have a table on the left side, we always record our values of x. That in this case is going to be all what we're going to have in blue. And then on the y side, we're going to record our total. That's the y. And then here I'm going to record this. These numbers will be the total. Okay. And on the x-axis, we are representing hours. And then on the y-axis, we are representing all the rooms that Matthew is cleaning. Okay, great. So now based on this story, when we have 1 hour for Matthew, you see he's gonna do 4 times 1, which is 4 rooms. Okay. Now what about if he has 2 hours? Then we said that's gonna be 4 because that's his standard, and the total will be 8 rooms. And I'm going to start analyzing my graphs and see which one is matching with this information. Okay, so I'm gonna check graph A. For x equals 1 should be here. This will be my number 1. Why? Because 1 is in between 0 and 2. And I'm gonna go all the way up. And then here, it reads a value between 16 and 24. And the value that I read here is a 4. And 4 is not between 16 and 24. 4 will be way below. So this value here is not working. So I'm going to say this value here does not represent this table of values. See that, guys? Okay, great. So now let's look at choice B. When x equals 1, which is here, this graph is between 0 and 8. And what value is between 0 and 8? Of course, the 4. Great. So this value is working. Now let's check the next value here. When x equals 2, y equals 8. And it's what we have here on the table. You see this, guys? So for the second value, it is working. So B might be. So let's put a question mark already. Now I'm going to come to choice C. And I'm just going to check the last one, 2. When x equals 2, this graph reads the value between 0 and 8. What's the value between 0 and 8? The 4. But we know that when x equals 2, y must be an 8. So this point is not representing the data. Okay? And then for this point right here, when x equals 2, you see here, what's the value of y for this line? Right here. That is a 4. So this graph is also not representing this situation. What else can we tell about this graph? Well, we can tell that the number of rooms is not changing. You see, this line is always when on the value of y equals 4. Here, y equals 4. And here, when x equals 4, y equals 4. And when x equals 6, also y equals 4. So the value of y is never changing. But we know our values of y are changing because we're multiplying the value of x by 4. So they're always going to be changing. So D also cannot be our answer. So we found our answer, right? Our right answer is letter B. Great, guys. I'm going to box this in red. And awesome job. Thank you.